Hi, welcome to another episode of Life Changers, and this is Mike. So I know the last episode was pretty good, pretty intense, and I was just going on and on and on. It was pretty good. So we'll touch a little bit more on that, and then we'll move on to the next part of letting my crazy out, as they say, and moving on to the next questions that I get asked a lot and stuff like that. But I understand how crazy sometimes it sounds. How, oh, that's just too easy. So why? Right? How is this possible? I thought the exact same things. So you're telling me, Mike, all I have to do is listen and find the frequency or the energy of money, and then I could be able to see and understand money and stuff like that. And there's different ways to do it. And you're telling me I have to find the way that works for me. Because, yeah, most people are chasing wealth. The top things that people chase in law of attraction that makes a lot of law of attraction influencers money is wealth, love. Those are the two main things that people are looking for. They say it'll solve all my problems if I'm wealthy, or I want just somebody to love me. Those are the two things, because like in all these movies or all these programming TV shows or whatever you want to say, shows people like where villains come to life, like in superhero movies, there's always a misunderstanding or somebody who was heartbroken and stuff like that. And that's what makes people do crazy things in those movies, right? And they make it seem so hard to find love and wealth, because we're programmed to like drama, to be a part of something, I guess. And yeah, like there's like, I always used to think like it's crazy that people can fall for whatever, like lies or cults or things like that, or be like, well, this is the truth, but people fall for the non-truth. And how is that possible? Well, it all comes down to your belief system and trust and wanting to feel a part of something. Hence, like gangs, right? They pry on people that feel like lonely or out of place and stuff like that. And that's how they recruit people. Like not saying a church or a religion is a gang, but a lot of people that got converted into, like I've seen people get converted into the religion that I was a part of, was always because they were, fallen down, or they needed healing, or they needed to be a part of something. And, it became the answer, like, yeah, this is going to help me get out of my depression or get out of this or that, right? And seems to be what I'm looking for. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying religion's a bad thing or anything like that. Like, I'm not saying I don't trash my religion that I grew up with. I learned a lot. It helped me understand a lot of things. It got me through a lot. And it helped me find my perfect, partner, my wife. So if that's all that did for me, was worth it. So, maybe we'll talk a little bit about love today. And I know I mentioned it before, but, I'm going to let a little more of my crazy out. So I'm not sure how much I shared, like with how I met my wife or whatever, but every time I look at it, I'm like, it's impossible that we would have met any other way, like by fluke, or I swear it's by design. Like, it almost feels like this whole world around us is dedicated to us meeting each other and being together, that, it took a lot of energy and different things to intervene to make sure we met. So, like, has anybody listening felt that about their life? How they feel like, I feel like this world is made for me or made for us. I mean, your significant other, your wife, your husband, or whatever. I've ever felt that. Like, even me and my wife, when we first got married or when we were dating, we'd walk down the street and lights would turn off when we walked by. And we used to joke saying, like, oh, we're so perfect for each other, that we're so bright, like our souls are so bright, our energy is so bright that when we walk under these light lamps, they detect the light, so they think it's daytime, so they turn off. And then once we move through that light, it turns back on. And we used to think that was a joke, our little cute joke, right? Like a little that shows us that we're meant to be together. And it felt cool, like yeah, like to us was just like, oh, it's a little joke, right? But and what I know now, like, it's always funny how, what I know now, helps me see and understand the past and why things happened the way they happened and how we ended up where we ended up and how everything always works out perfectly for us. And like, yeah, there was hard times. Like, we've just passed our 18th year wedding anniversary. And how, we look back at it, like, yeah, there's hard times and there's tough times, but in the end, like, where we are today is just like, so, for lack of a better word, fucking amazing. And I truly believe, like, we're special in the sense that, like, higher power, and back then for me was like, my religion, my God was like making sure we're together. And I swear that the only reason why me and my wife are together, or at least one of the reasons, is because, like, her higher self or my higher self reached out to my younger self going, hey, this is what's going to happen when you hear, like, these words. And, and I was, like, there watching me meet her, but I didn't see her face or anything. It was just, like, her back. And then she said certain words, and I just, like, oh, okay. And then when it happened in real life, as they say, that I was like, it happened, and it just hit me like that. I was given that information in a dream 3 years before I met her. And then one day, we're walking, we're talking, we're on our date, and she said something, and it just like, whoo, like I felt like I got transported, whoom, right back to that dream. And I just, boom, I was like, to the point where I'm lucky I didn't creep her up saying, I'm going to marry you. She's like, what? So here comes the belief system, or the crazy, I guess. Like, so yeah, in the end, like, we live happily ever after. Communication is amazing. Like, we just talk as much as, like I mentioned earlier, we're programmed for drama, so that when we, whenever you're talking to somebody, or if you're having a fight with somebody, a friend or a significant other or whatever, business partners or anybody in general, your boss, your initial knee-jerk reaction is, poor me, you're the victim, why is everybody attacking me? And for you to, like, freak out, shut down, and drama, because that's what we are programmed by social media, by news, TV, because everything that's shoved in our face is drama, because that's what makes a lot of money, and that's what everybody assumes life is. It's funny because, like, people, when I say that, like, oh, it's our programming, it's our this or that, and they're like, oh, you're stupid, Mike. Cool, like, that's your belief. I'm stupid, right? But it's you can't deny the reality of it. I see it every day. Like, if every movie you watch, every TV show you watch always ends up into drama, as I say, and all this craziness, right? Stuff that, like, is far-fetched. Well, that's why people end up, acting the way they act or doing the way they do. Like maybe a movie, you're like, oh, I never thought of that. I'm going to go try that in real life, because we're so programmed that like, yeah, most people are like, oh, it's just a movie. It's cool. It's good. Right. But some people believe like when they watch a TV show and they see the character on the TV and they meet that person in real life, they believe that actor is the real person in real life, like that character. And they're like, hey, I watch you and, you're a really good detective. And here, and you know how many times that happens to people when they play like detectives on TV and then in the real world, people are like, hey, I know you're a really great detective. You solve everything. Help me with my case. And they're truly convinced that they're real because that's their belief. That's how far the programming goes and takes people. Yes, most people are not into the programming like that and are not, deep in programming like that. But yeah, recognize it. And that's what you see, because like even me the other night, we're discussing things with my wife and I just like started like, and the auto programming kicks in like, screw this, like I'm just done or with this conversation or whatever. Like I felt like I should just, yesterday was raining. Like I should just go outside and stand in the rain and be a victim and poor me instead of just sitting there talking like fucking adults. We are adults. Talk. People don't talk and share their feelings because they're afraid. And I understand. I was too. But here's how, in a sense, we got over it, in a sense, is I always try to think of it from the other point of view. Like, just everybody just shut up and listen. Stop running the programming of drama and being victims, and everybody's just attacking each other and projecting everybody projects their baggage onto other people, especially in an argument. So stop all that, recognize all that, calm the fuck down, relax, okay? And just listen and understand where they're coming from. You might not understand how each other thinks, or you assume, well, they should understand that when I say this, it actually means this. No, they fucking don't, okay? When somebody says something, they might take it for as you said it, word for word, not understanding the hidden meaning, Like, I make the same mistakes when I talk sometimes, and I'm frustrated. I just start saying crap, and in the end, it's like, calm down, relax, gather your words, everybody listen to each other. And most of the time, you'll find out you're both on the same page. Just miscommunication and the programming of all that drama that we see in TV and everything, and how everything's supposed to be like big drama, right? I'm not, I have, especially people that have everything they want, everything is perfect, and then they're like, but there's no drama, so it must not be real. And they create all this drama in their life for nothing. It's hilarious. It really is. Here, I'm going to take a drink of my ginger ale here. Don't worry, I'm not sponsored by ginger ale. I like my ginger ale. Cranberry ginger ale, too. Ooh, it's in the season. But, like, yeah. Everybody should just calm down. Stop getting your panties in a bunch. Where most people live, we have freedom of speech, even though in Canada we really don't in certain things. If we go get... Anyways. But, yeah. So remember that we are all programmed for the drama. And just recognize it, release it, and say, I understand. But I choose to reprogram myself. Because everybody asks me, and I used to say the same thing, we're in the matrix. Well, what is the hack? So I can hack this motherfucker and get what I want. We do live in a world where thought can come into reality. We discussed this before, like back to my pen in my other episode. I thought about a pen, now I made a pen, now I have a pen, and then hence we're trying to sell a pen in my last episode. But yeah, everything starts with a thought before it comes to reality. Just like it was a thought, it was the programming kicking in where I felt like I should do some drama and just, and even after we calmed down, we relaxed, we started talking, and we're, giggling and hanging out in the end, and I was like, hey, so this is the feeling I had. What if I did that? She would have been like, I would have just been like, fine, and just sat in bed and be grumpy and fall asleep eventually and leave you in the rain. then we wouldn't have resolved anything. The negative energy would still be there, and so on and so forth. And here's the thing for people. If you say, hey, Mike, I don't believe anything you're saying, it's all BS. Okay, here we go. You walked into a room, you feel the negative energy, you cut the tension with the knife. You weren't there for the argument, but you walk in and you're like, oh, something happened. Right? You could cut the tension with a knife, right? Drama. Hey, when I say drama, I do jazz hands. Anyways, right? So, therefore, in science, right, there's always an opposite reaction. So if there's always an opposite of everything. And you learn that in reflections, right? You learn that in all sorts of crap growing up. So if I walk into a room and there's negative energy, I'm like, oh crap, this is crazy. But then you walk into a different room and everybody's just having an amazing time, or they just had like a really uplifting experience or conversation, and everybody's just like good positive energy. And then you're like, oh, this feels good, warm and fuzzy, right? And then you're, oh. So yes, if there's negative energy, there's positive energy. So everything in our realm of reality is energy based. And that you could take to the bank, folks. Like, that is the truth. Because soon as I figured that out and understood it, that everything is energy, how money is a frequency and an energy, how love is a frequency and hate is an energy, and all sorts of things is energy based. That just opens up the whole new world. And yes, like you see it in movies, right? Like Doctor Strange and all these other things, like how people can, manipulate energy and do things. Like there's people in this world, shaman or energy healers and stuff like that can literally look at you and see your positive and negative energy and heal you by manipulating the energy field. They could do that. And it's freaking amazing. And they're really, there's people that have unlocked things, right? Like, when I was younger, hanging out with like my sister, and she hung out with a lot of hippies and people and stuff. And I remember like this one guy would be like, hey, always smoking weed and stuff, and all that. In Canada back then, it wasn't legal. Now it is for the last X amount of years, like 8 years, 10 years now. It's all legal. But he would be like, hey, I'm a dream hopper. Like I could come in your dreams if you want and guide you through them and stuff, and all that. I'm like, this guy's high as F, right? But now, with the information I know now, here we go again, right? That guy probably really believed and really was able to do it, because this is the world we live in. It starts with thought, and then we can honestly do it. And I would joke with him sometimes saying, hey, would you just jump in my dream without me? He goes, no, there's laws and I have to follow like, permissions, and you have to invite me in and so on and so forth. And I was like, okay, making fun of him, right? A teenager would, but he's probably a dream healer. He probably helps people in their dreams and helps them get out of nightmares and teaches them to fix and manipulate their dreams now. I have no doubt that he has that potential, because the potential is anything we want. I know we're going to talk about movies, like we see it in the movies like the Avengers, how, there's all these different realities, all these different timelines, and how there's millions of versions of us and every possibility is happening now and all that. And, quantum physics states that is all real. Like it's all a possibility, right? It's all there. So, if you there must be truth, right? They say there's truth in everything. Truth is in plain sight. And I remember And I don't know if I'm just me being crazy, right? Crazy Mike here, life changers. Oh. But I remember when the movie The Matrix came out, and I watched it, and I watched it, and I watched it again. And I really felt like there was a message in there for me. And I would talk to people like in school going like, hey, like I really feel like that movie is a message for me, that there's something there. Like we got to break the matrix. We're in the matrix. We're in the matrix, right? And everybody's like, crazy Mike. But I was a good boy, you know? I didn't drink. I didn't do weed or drugs or anything like that, right? But I felt like there's something there. There's something there. Only fast forward to 2020 and today, everything's a possibility. More and more people believe now that like, yeah, this is the matrix. This is crazy. Like, you know, the world as we knew it ended in 2020 in a sense, and now it's a whole new world, and everything's going crazy, and everybody is making their realities true, and so on and so forth, right? So, hey, so more and more people are like, yeah, we do live in the matrix, or we live in a glass dome, or we live under the ocean, or we live wherever. Everybody has their own beliefs, and it's funny because a lot of people ask me like, do you believe this? Do you believe that? Like, as if I believe it, they should believe it. For me, when it comes to my beliefs, I'll just say it in a nutshell. I go by the energy, by my feelings, my gut, use the Holy Spirit, the Great Spirit, Holy Ghost, whatever, God, whatever you want to call it. And if it feels like, hey, that's real, or that's right, I might do a little more research and then bring it into my reality. I don't bring things into my reality lightly. I'm not the type of person to be like, hey, I just saw this online today and it must be real. Like some people watch, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook Shorts, whatever the wheels or whatever it's called, Facebook wheels or anything like that, or watch anything online. They're like, it must be real. And like, there's just trolls out there making videos that are BS just to see how many people they can convince. Just like those videos of farmers with, the hay bales that are covered with a white plastic, because that's how they cover them for the winter to keep them fresh for the animals, and then they give it to their animals, like the hay. So it's all hay just wrapped up, and people are like, farmers make funny videos. I thought it was hilarious too. Going like, okay, for you city people, these are where marshmallows come from. We come to the big marshmallows. We grew this marshmallow. We take little pieces, and then they have like marshmallows in their hand, and they're like, see, we put them in bags, and this is how we harvest them all for you guys. It's, you might laugh, or you might be one of those people that go, that's real, right? But anybody who lives in the country knows and sees those everywhere. Like, yeah, it's not how where marshmallows come from. They come from a factory. It's just, gelatin and glucose and a bunch of other sugars. But some people believe that. And it might be funny to you. Or you might be like one of the people that believe and be like, yeah, I believe that. What's wrong with that? That's your belief. That's your reality. Who am I to tell you it's wrong? Right? Unless I take you out to the country and show you then it might change. So yes, people say, well, Mike, you just keep telling people to be ignorant and believe whatever they want to believe and all this. People will believe what they believe regardless what I say, regardless what anybody says. People are going to have their belief system because somebody they looked up to, or the way they were brought up, or the programming, the auto-programming that is being run through their body and through their system without them knowing, or with them knowing. Like, I recognize all the programming. I just choose not to follow my programming, right? Like, people, it's interesting what people, like, focus their energy on and stuff. You know what I focus my energy on? I don't care if we're in an AI simulation and all this is fake, because it feels real to me. In my current reality state, this is real. So yeah, I choose to be in the matrix. I choose to learn how to hack it. And the hacks are figuring out the different energies and creating your reality based on that. And reprogramming yourself and not following the auto program that the AI or the matrix or the government or whatever you want to believe is running. But it is everywhere we see and look. We are conditioned to react a certain way, to believe certain things, and to, I mentioned it many times, subconsciously hate money, hate being rich, because every TV show, every movie, everything you see about rich people, they're always a bunch of assholes, right? When they're really rich. And you're not an asshole subconsciously. But I met a lot of people that are rich that are amazing people and not like they show on TV and not crazy. And there's a lot more rich people in the world than they let you believe. Anybody can be rich. You just got to choose to and bring that reality to you and then follow and do the work to get there. But we're programmed not to, because, oh, well, the more I work, the more taxes I pay, the more government fees I pay, the more this, the more that. If this is the world you live in the current rat race, the current matrix, then it's just going to be a never-ending circle. I've been there. I've made, right, millions in sales, you know, and a lot of money in my companies and had no money to show for it because I believed the more I make, the more I pay, the more I lose, the more this. And I've always attracted that into my life, those people in my life that take money from me, or like all these different things. And I believed some money would always just magically disappear. Have you ever had that experience that the more you make, the more you're like, oh, the money just disappears because, well, that's the way it works, right? I'm always going to have less than I had a buddy of mine who's like, hey, minimum wage just went up. Yeah, I'm making a lot more money now. Yeah. But his take home was less than it was before because, oh, now you're in a new tax bracket now. But that's all the belief system. Well, Mike, it's not just belief, it's reality. Okay, it is reality. But do you choose to follow that reality? Like, yeah, I pay my taxes. I do all that stuff. I follow all the rules. But I choose to live an abundant life now and not be like, well, the more I make, the less I have. No, it's the more I make, the more I'm going to make. And it'll never run out. And I believe that. And that's the energy I put out there. I don't put out lack. I don't put out not having. I don't put out chasing money. We're all chasing money because we all want to be rich. We all chase money. We all need to be rich and say we'll be happy when we're rich. There's lots of people that get rich that aren't happy. And, then there's all these people that make all this money and they go on their own businesses and then they realize all this stuff. And then, that's the belief that they have is like, I got to pay tax, I got to do this. But there's living in your current reality and saying, okay, that's real. This is what I believe. And I'm running this auto program and living in the matrix. And I'm going to do the rat race. And then there's being in the rat race, recognizing the rat race, and no, there's a lot more. And nobody could take that away from you. Nobody. Except you. Same with love. People are always like, always attract the wrong people or the wrong kind of person to me, and they're always this, they're always that. Oh, poor me. That's what I attract. Ha ha ha. Well, that's what you're going to attract because that's the energy you're putting out and that's what you're getting. Same thing with me growing up. In my religion, I was like, oh, well, I always attract people that are like, they need my help, so I'm here to help them. I'm here to bless them with my knowledge. And I'm always going to attract sad people that need help, need money, and I'm more than happy to help them and show them the way and give them money. And that's just what I attract. And that's what I was attracting my whole life until I decided to be because I don't want to be, I want to be the person, like I want to help people and attract that, but I also want to attract my kind of people, like love, compassion, wealth. So I'm not putting out that energy anymore of needing to help, like not to help people per se, but like to attract those kinds of people that are always like, I don't know, poor me victims and they need help and all that. Like, yeah, I'm more than happy to help them and be there for them, but I'm not letting that energy into my life anymore. My energy is love, compassion, wealth, and just boom, right? So now I attract different people. And yes, there is people I want to help and I try to help and I go out and reach out to them and stuff like that, or people reach out to us. lifechangersmike@gmail.com and send us emails and stuff and we respond and we're here to help. I want to help. I want to create community. I want to create security, safety, and be able to help people that are willing. Here's the key, willing to help themselves. Everybody wants help. Nobody wants to do the work. And not nobody, but a lot of people will not help themselves. And I was in that same boat going, just tell me, give me the job, give me the money, give me this, and I could be successful. But you're not going to appreciate it as much. I've seen places and people that were just given everything and they don't care about anything, about this stuff. Well, I'll just get a new car if I break this car, My parents are rich. Or I was given this, like I'm in university because my parents or my grandma or somebody rich paid for everything. I don't care, I'm not here to get the education, And not everybody's like that, okay? I'm not putting, that's the programming, is that people that are given everything are like that. But there is people that are given stuff that really appreciate it, really recognize it, really understand it, and it helps change their life. But yes, the programming, the most people don't give a crap and expect you to give them more. It's kind of like when I used to be younger, I expected rich people to give me everything I wanted because they're rich and I'm poor. Is that the right way to think? That because, you're not making as much or whatever, that you should be given everything? And don't get me wrong, maybe you're trying your best. Maybe you're doing everything with the information you have. And then you stumbled across this podcast and you're like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He's crazy. Talking to me like that, like I choose to be poor. I'm working my ass off here. Well, okay, here is the information. You stumbled across this podcast by luck? Or is it the universe guiding you? Or God, your gut, Holy Ghost, or whatever you want to call it, is guiding you to listen and go, well, this is how you get out of where you are. Because I've been in that place. I was young. I was young once. No, but I was young, making $25 an hour at 18 years old. That's like over 20 years ago. Making that kind of money. And yet I had no money to show for it when people were working minimum wage back then, when it was like $7, $8 an hour in Canada, and they had more money than me. Why? Well, because I felt like I needed to be poor. That was my programming. So maybe this is the lifeline you needed to hear when you stumble across this. To hear some guy like me saying, hey, yeah, you're doing your best, but here's some new information that could help you do even better and that you never thought of before. And it's just like, it's all about unprogramming your belief system, because chances are you were programmed to believe no matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you try, rich people or the government's always going to keep you down. But that is not the reality. The reality is you can choose to break that, because that's the programming we're running. That's the programming I'm saying most, poor people or people that grew up poor, we're told, we're fed, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what they say. Nothing you can do about it. You're just poor. Too bad. Let's take all the free money you can from everybody. And too bad you're still going to be poor and you're going to be fighting for everything. So why work a job? Or you are working and you're working your ass off and for nothing. So why work the job when these other people are not working and have more than you, right? There's always that poor you victim thing going around. Like, well, I thought that too. I worked so hard. I started companies when I was 19 years old. I started this, I started that. And yet I have nothing. And there's, I see people that have like PlayStation 5s and I can't even afford a PlayStation 5. You know what I mean? I used to be like that. Like, why? Are you a victim? And do you recognize the program and the autopilot you are on? You could change your whole life by changing your programming and realize who you really are. When you look in the mirror, do you see who you really are, or do you see the image you're projecting out to the world? I don't know. Because in my previous episode, as this is your first one, the second one before this one, I talked about how I look in the mirror and I'm like, oh, that's me. Hey, I don't think I look like that, because in my reality, I think I look different. But then people would say, well, maybe that's how you perceive yourself, because, you feel like you gained weight and this is how you So that's how you see yourself in the world. But if you actually look at other people looking at you, they see you totally different. It's all about perception, my friend. And I'm like, oh, touche. You should listen to this guy. His name is Mike, and he has a podcast called Life Changers Mike. You should check him out sometime. He has a lot of good information. But I just can't beat that horse enough, as they say. I'm not beating any horses, everybody. No horses were harmed in the making of these podcasts. But I'm saying, like, I just can't say it enough that everything comes down to you. In the end, you decide subconsciously, auto-programming. You may or may not know. But I'm telling you, everything comes down to you and your belief system and what you believe you deserve, consciously and subconsciously. But if it's subconscious, Mike, how do I figure it out? Well, I've been explaining it in these podcasts over and over and over. You see it all the time in mainstream media, mainstream news, misinformation. There's good information, there's misinformation. There's truth in everything, right? But we're all programmed for drama because that's what we see everywhere. We're all programmed to work our butts off and believe we're not getting nowhere, but we still have to work hard so we can have what we have. And so on and so forth. I choose not to believe those limitations, and I choose to create my own reality of abundance because I just can't explain it, but I know how to, I don't know how to say it without being a pompous asshole, but I know how to make what I want happen. And I know that I control what goes on in my reality. And I control my wealth. I control the way I'm programmed, the way I think. And I decide in the end what is right and what is good for me, what is not. And so on for my personal reality. And yes, I really focus on personal reality in the last 4 seasons of these podcasts. But we are all on this earth together, and we all are trying to find our truth and our realities. And we are all creating the world that we see before us in mass. Like, everybody in this world is a creator. But are you going to be an NPC running your programming, or are you going to be a main player and decide to start taking charge of your life instead of just running your auto programming? It's funny because I was watching this movie the other day with my kids called something robot, where this robot, I guess, was like supposed to be shipped somewhere, but it ended up crashing on an island. And then it, started living with the animals because there's nobody there, and I started learning with the animals and all that, and started reprogramming itself. And then eventually, it found other robot, the main robot's like, hey, you got to go return to factory. You got to be fixed because, you're not supposed to be running your own program. You're supposed to be running your program. But anyways, as it was learning with the animals, it was like, wait a minute. So animals call it instinct, but the robot was like, that's your programming? It's like, yes. Oh, but you could choose to fix your programming. And it's a sweet movie. And there's a lot of truth to it, where that AI robot chose to reprogram itself to complete its task. And how, all the animals were their instincts are their programming. Well, we all have instincts that we're pre-programmed with growing up. And it depends on the family you live with, right? It's funny because, I was talking to somebody and they're like, well, my buddy, he grew up in this family, so he's religion's this religion, and he's devoted to that religion no matter what. And then you come to realize, if you take that exact same person and they were born somewhere else in a different religion, they'd be just as devoted to that religion and that culture of their life, because that's where they were brought up. So that's like, it's like, oh, and somebody was like, yeah, like they told me this is their experience on how they saw that. And they're like, yeah, like it doesn't matter where you would have, been born in a different situation. You would have been devoted, into that religion in your culture. And it's true. Like I was raised and born into the religion I was raised and born into. And then at one point you choose am I going to continue with everything I'm taught? Or am I going to do my own thing and find out my truth? And don't get me wrong, I'm not trashing religion. Please don't write me saying, you hate religion. I really don't. Because everybody is finding themselves. And everybody has their story. Just like that song, everybody has their story to tell. Everybody has their issues. Everybody has their poor me story. And that's cool. But I choose to live now. Right now, I'm living in this minute, in this moment, and enjoying my podcast. I'm putting all the energy into now. I'm not putting it into anything else. I'm living now. Like we're programmed to live in the past, right? Auto-programming again. We live in the past, right? We're always talking about our past, the glory days. Oh, when I was young, the things I used to do. And then as we get older, we're programmed to be like, oh, we're old and decrepit. I don't believe that crap. I believe that every day I'm getting stronger and fitter and younger in my eyes, my heart, my belief system. So I'm not going to be old and decrepit. There's people my age that look like they're 50. And there's people my age that look like they're like 20s. It all depends on how people say, oh, it's all your genes, right? I'm like, what? I wear Levi's. So does that matter? No, and your genes as in your DNA, right? I should put that one in there. Which one's that one? This one? Oh, it's this one. There we go. That's my joke of the day. But yeah, no, people say, well, it's in my DNA. It's my genes. I'm supposed to have all these things because my parents had it and all this stuff. Cool. That's what you believe. That's what you're going to get. Well, it's in my genes that when I get older, I'm supposed to be all decrepit. Okay, if that's the program you're running, it's not the program I'm running. Because there's people that are 70 years old that can outperform a 20-year-old in a race or rock climbing or whatever because they're breaking their own reality, and that's the reality they live in. So the reality at mass, yeah, you get old and decrepit. Deal with it. I don't give a shit about that. My reality is I'm going to be fit, not decrepit, and always be me. Life Changers Mike, and strong and independent and do what I want. I thank everybody for listening to this podcast and for making it possible. I do say if you are enjoying the podcast, please, there's a button you can donate at the bottom that could help, make the podcast better, help pay some of the bills, and help so I can put more effort and time into these podcasts, as well as looking for more and more guests and stuff like that. I do appreciate everybody. I just really, really love everybody and just have that energy of love out there and just shoot it everywhere. And I want you, if you have not listened to the episode just before this, to go back to the episode before this one and listen to it, because it's going to help you find out who you are if you're not sure who you are, or if you're not sure what I'm talking about. I do recommend, if you're a first-time listener and you came across this podcast, to start from the beginning if you want to understand the story and work your way up and keep up to date, because this is my journey through the law of attraction and how I went out to prove that it was BS. And what I found was a different surprise. And it gives you a little bit of my background, my life story, I guess. And then it brings us to this point on information. And I'm constantly learning and constantly trying different things and constantly, falling down, getting up, because it's not easy to override the master programming that's out there, that's being fed to us all day, every day, 24 hours a day. So are you going to be wasting your time scrolling, dead scrolling all night? Are you going to be wasting your time watching all of these TV shows and movies and all this stuff and find the conspiracy of where Michael Jackson is, or if he's dead or alive or whatever, that's cool. If that's your reality, that's what you want to do. All the power to you. But if you really want to know who you are, what you're capable of, I suggest you keep on listening. Thank you very much for all our listeners for listening. Once again, this is Mike with Life Changers. I love you and appreciate you. Have a good day.